If you've been doing intermittent fasting for a while and suddenly it feels like nothing is happening, no more weight loss, no more energy boost, no more mental clarity, you're not imagining it. This is something that happens to a lot of people, and there are real biological reasons behind it. Today, I want to walk you through what might be going on inside your body when intermittent fasting starts to fail you, and what the newest insights suggest you can do about it. Because fasting isn't magic, it's a tool. And like any tool, if the conditions change, the effectiveness can also change. So let's break this down in a way that makes sense and gives you something practical to work with. When you first start intermittent fasting, everything feels almost too easy. Your appetite drops, your cravings calm down, and the scale responds. That early success happens because you're reducing insulin, and insulin is the main hormone that blocks fat burning. When insulin comes down, your body finally gets permission to tap into stored fat. For many people, that shift alone produces dramatic results, but over time the body adapts, not because fasting stops working, but because your stress level, your nutrient reserves, your sleep, and your liver health all play a bigger role than people realize. And if even one of those areas falls out of balance, the fasting benefits can stall. One of the biggest hidden reasons intermittent fasting stops working is chronic stress. And the problem isn't just the stress itself, it's what stress does to cortisol. Cortisol is supposed to help you in short bursts, but if it stays high for too long, it competes directly with insulin and can block fat burning. High cortisol also breaks down muscle protein, generates glucose from that protein, spikes blood sugar, and forces insulin to rise again. So, even if you're fasting perfectly, high cortisol can keep your body in a sugar burning mode instead of fat burning mode. Many people hit a plateau not because fasting changed, but because their stress hormone profile changed. Work stress, emotional stress, lack of sleep, overtraining, these things accumulate and make fasting feel ineffective. And when cortisol is chronically elevated, it also affects your sleep, your mood, and your recovery. So a big part of getting fasting to work again is lowering the stress load. That might mean adjusting your fasting schedule slightly, adding more nutrient-dense foods, or improving sleep quality. When cortisol calms down, fasting becomes effective again. Another major reason fasting stops delivering results is nutrient depletion. Intermittent fasting lowers insulin, but it also lowers your eating window. And if the food you're eating is low in micronutrients, especially potassium, magnesium, B vitamins, and trace minerals, you may start running on empty. Your metabolism needs minerals to operate. Your enzymes require them. Your mitochondria need them to make energy. When nutrient levels drop too low, your body becomes less efficient at burning fat and repairing itself. People often assume fasting is the problem, but the real issue is that they're undernourished while trying to fast. You can think of nutrients like spark plugs in an engine. If even one spark plug fails, the car still moves, but it sputters and loses power. Your body is the same way. When you replenish nutrients, the fat-burning pathways light up again. That's why adding nutrient-rich foods like leafy greens, electrolytes, sea salt, protein, and healthy fats can make such a difference. One overlooked factor is sleep. If you reduce sleep quality or quantity, fasting becomes dramatically harder. Poor sleep spikes cortisol, disrupts hormones like leptin and ghrelin, increases cravings, slows metabolism, and reduces insulin sensitivity. Even one night of bad sleep can make you hungrier the next day. If your fasting window is solid but your sleep is weak, your progress slows. When people fix their sleep, even without changing anything else, their fasting results often come back. Simple adjustments like reducing screen exposure at night, keeping the room cooler, avoiding heavy food late in the day, and getting daylight in the morning can repair the sleep stress cycle and restore fasting benefits. Another big issue is liver function. The liver is the main organ responsible for fat burning. If the liver is overloaded, whether from too many carbohydrates, too much snacking, too much fructose, too many inflammatory foods, or even years of sluggish metabolism, fat burning slows down. The liver converts stored fat into ketones during fasting. If the liver can't keep up, you don't get into deep fat burning mode efficiently. Many people experience a fasting stall because their liver is tired. One of the newest insights is that supporting the liver can actually revive fasting results. That means reducing snacking, avoiding sugar and seed oils, adding cruciferous vegetables, getting enough choline, and giving the liver time to rest. When the liver becomes more efficient, fasting becomes more effective, even at the same fasting window. Another common mistake is overcaffeinating during fasting. A small amount of coffee is usually fine, but relying on large amounts to push through. The fasting window can increase cortisol, irritate the adrenal glands, and raise blood sugar. If you find you need more and more caffeine to sustain your fast, that's a sign your system is fatigued. Reducing caffeine, adding electrolytes, or shortening the fasting window temporarily can restore hormonal balance. Once cortisol stabilizes, you can lengthen your fasting window again. Let's also talk about metabolism adaptation. If the body thinks it's under constant pressure, it adapts by slowing down. Fasting too aggressively, too frequently, or without enough nutrients can signal scarcity. When that happens, the thyroid may slow, energy drops, and fat burning decreases. The solution isn't to stop fasting, it's to adjust the intensity, sometimes shifting from 1 meal a day to 2 meals a day, just temporarily, can reset your metabolism and bring fasting benefits back. People are often surprised that eating a little more actually gets the results moving again. When you give your metabolism a break from extreme fasting schedules, it becomes more responsive. Exercise also plays a role. If you're doing too much high-intensity exercise while fasting, you may be overstressing the system. Exercise is beneficial, but if your body is already under sleep debt, nutrient depletion, or adrenal fatigue, excessive exercise adds more cortisol. For some people, simply switching to walking, low-intensity cardio, or strength training can reignite fat loss. Strength training in particular has a powerful effect on insulin sensitivity. When muscle becomes more insulin sensitive, fasting becomes more effective. Another reason fasting stalls is hidden carbohydrates. Many people underestimate how much sugar or carbs sneak into their eating window. A few condiments, a sugary electrolyte drink, fruit juice, starchy vegetables, or even healthy snacks can spike insulin more than people realize. When insulin rises, fat burning stops, even if you are fasting the rest of the day. Reducing carbohydrate spikes during the eating window can restore fasting effectiveness quickly. Another subtle issue is the microbiome. Your gut bacteria influence appetite, cravings, and how efficiently you extract calories. If your gut is inflamed, if you're not digesting well, or if you're missing beneficial bacteria that help regulate insulin and cortisol, fasting becomes harder and less effective. Supporting the gut with fermented foods, fiber-rich vegetables, and digestive support can make fasting feel effortless again. Sometimes the reason fasting stops working has nothing to do with physiology and everything to do with expectation. When you lose initial weight rapidly, that's usually water loss and glycogen depletion. As you shift into deeper fat burning, the rate naturally slows. This is normal. The body prefers slow, steady fat loss because it allows hormones to adjust gradually. A plateau doesn't always mean failure. In many cases, fat loss is still happening. It's just not visible on the scale. Measuring waist circumference, face shape, clothing fit, and energy levels can show progress long before the scale does. Another factor is eating frequency inside the eating window. If you break your fast and continue snacking, even on healthy foods, each snack can spike insulin. Even if the overall amount of food is small, the frequency of eating matters. Reducing snacks and sticking to one or two nutrient-dense meals restores insulin patterns and strengthens the fasting effect. What's also becoming more clear in research is that metabolic flexibility matters. Metabolic flexibility means your body can switch easily between burning sugar and burning fat. If your body is still too dependent on glucose, fasting feels harder and progress stalls. Improving metabolic flexibility through lowering sugar intake, adding electrolytes, gradually increasing fasting intervals, and building muscle helps your body tap into fat more efficiently. As flexibility improves, fasting becomes smooth again, just like it felt in the beginning. Now let's bring all of this together. If intermittent fasting is failing you in 2025, it's not because fasting suddenly stopped working. It's because your body's conditions changed. Stress went up, nutrients went down, sleep got disrupted, the liver slowed, insulin spikes crept back in, or the fasting schedule got too aggressive. When you support the underlying systems, sleep, nutrients, stress, liver, gut, insulin, fasting becomes effective again. The key is not to push harder, but to restore balance. When the internal environment improves, fasting works better than ever. Your next step is simple. Identify which factor resonates most with your current situation. Are you more stressed, sleeping less, eating fewer nutrients, snacking more, drinking more caffeine, pushing exercise too hard? Start with the one area that feels off. Fixing even one imbalance is often enough to break the plateau and bring fasting results back. Your body wants to burn fat. It wants to heal. When you create the right internal environment, intermittent fasting becomes one of the most powerful tools for energy, weight, and health. And the best part is, once things are back in balance, fasting becomes effortless again.